Hello, and today we're going to be painting orc skin. Orcs are tricky little so-and-sos. They have lots of muscles, sinews, and above all teeth. Let's face it, they're ugly little spuds. Some of the ones that we'll be painting today are so ugly I bet the midwife slapped their mum when they were born. Although having said that, I've never seen an orc female. Enough said, let's get on with things. Here are the colours that we'll be using for the skins and features. We'll be looking at the uniforms and weapons for some of the clans and their peculiarities in later videos. Some interesting names there. You never saw Airfix being so bold as to name some of their paints Nazi Death Squad Grey or Zulu Sandwich, but I digress. The plan is to put on an initial base coat of Abaddon Black, then a thin coat of Waaagh flesh, and we'll gradually build up successive thin layers of these other paints to give the appearance that these big tubby monkey lizardy things wear so well. Got to love them. Okay, today's build are a mixture of orc gits, boys, knobs, storm boys and bikers, mega knobs, looters and burners. And as for the spare bits left over, well, I've sourced others from various eBay supplies. A big shout out to CJD20, Britannicus 14 and the Troll Trader for supplying me with lots of spares. These orcs are a mixture of Games Workshop and Cromlech parts, as orcs are usually a bit unruly. Biscuit and coffee choices today are ginger nuts and an Americano with just a splash of milk. First, our base coat of Abaddon Black. Cover all of the plastic with a 1-to-1 mix of paint with water. It will be very thin, but I'm one of the 2 thin coats brigade and that hasn't let me down yet. I don't usually paint this fast, but some things have been sped up to stop you getting bored. Next, Waaagh flesh as our base layer for the skin tone. Citadel love giving their paints descriptive names, and it actually makes life easier when trying to remember what colour goes with what model, especially if you paint as much as I do. Once that's all dry, and let's face it, these paints dry within about 10 minutes, we'll add our first shade paint, Biel Tan Green, with a fine detail brush. Take your time, work it in and let it go into all the nooks and crannies of the skin, such as the muscles and facial lines, fingers, that sort of thing. Then I like to let it dry for about an hour just to be on the safe side. Now for the first layer, Warboss Green. Warboss sounds like an aftershave for dictators. Warboss for men. Get as much excess paint off the brush as possible, such as using paper as a blotting tool. And here we're going to be using a thin detail brush just to graze the edges of the muscles with almost dry brushing. We don't want to undo the shading underneath, so light touches all over, or if you prefer, use a flared brush to gently dither the colours across the model, which is much quicker. Use upstrokes for this colour from feet to head. Next we're going to do the same thing again, but this time with Skarsnik Green, using both a small detail brush and a flared brush to add the extra highlights. Use this paint half as much as the Warboss Green and work from head to toe if you can with light flourishes. Now we're going to use Moot Green to add the final skin highlights. We're going to use a flared brush again for some more dry brushing and use half as much paint as before. Orc bodies have enough protuberances to make this exercise fairly straightforward, and you should see the result almost immediately. Once these layers have dried, it's time to take a look at their faces. So to recap, we're going to use Abaddon Black for a base coat, so when you add the next coat, if there are any thin patches, they will be complementary to the final look of the skin. Then we add Waaagh flesh. Waaagh, for those that don't know, is the battle cry of the orcs, not the noises made by their victims or silly people on YouTube. Then we use Biel Tan Green to shade, although you can use Agrax Earth shade, but the result will not be as good. Then we use Warboss Green to bring the overall colour up and accentuate the skin tones. Go light on this stage and be very sparing with the paints. Thin coats are always better than thick ones. Next, Skarsnik Green, which sounds like the title of a Swedish horror movie. This paint again adds to the tone of the skin and brings those details out. Finally, Moot Green. No idea what a moot is. Is it an animal, mineral, vegetable? Take your pick. I don't know. Do you eat them? How many moots would you like for your steak, sir? Or, ooh, there's a moot. Quick, hit it with a stick. Time for a facial for these beauties, I think. No, I'm not applying makeup. This lurid colour is called Screamer Pink. No, really it is. We're using this as the base colour for the mouth and gums. Go carefully here and don't undo all of your hard work on the skin. The idea here is to build the whole mouth up with Screamer Pink and then add the colours later on. My view here is that the orcs are a bit like chimpanzees. You know, the ones that you see on the telly when they're grinning, nicking bananas, throwing turds at zoo visitors, that sort of thing. They have these rictus grins, all gums and teeth. That's what we're aiming for here. That and dreadful dental work. Even so, orcs use their teeth as a rudimentary form of currency amongst their own. The weirdos. Next, a little smidgen of Evil Sunz Scarlet for those orcs that have tongues. Just enough of this layer paint to highlight the groove, and we can do that using a fine detail brush. Now for the teeth. We're using Ushabti Bone, a dull creamy colour to base these with a fine brush, only painting up to just below the gum line. Remember what I was saying about gums like chimpanzees? Go steady and do the teeth from the tips to the edge of the gums if you can. Also, it's good to do things like the hair and wrist bandages at the same time, or even the odd skull if the little chap is wearing someone else's. You never know. Now for the shading of the mouth and eyes. We're using Waaagh Earthshade here to darken the mouth and bring out the teeth and gums and tongues. And we're also going to gently paint the eye sockets. Then we're going to wait about an hour for that to all dry. It doesn't take that long, but it is an excuse to have a bit of a break, get another coffee on, see if there are any ginger nuts left. Screaming Skull next to layer the teeth and bring out some sort of bright shine. Just remember, orcs are big on dentistry but not on dental care, so you want their gnashes to look a little bit iffy. Unless of course they're from the Bad Moons clan. It's all about the teeth, innit? So there you have it, out of the mouths of orcs. Screamer Pink for the whole gob. Just be careful of not blemishing any other facial features, especially the lips, or your orc will end up looking like one of your maiden aunts. Next we use Evil Sunz Scarlet, just to drop onto the tongue if they have one, and the back of the throat to give the mouth depth and inner detail. They don't have much in the way of eyes, so their mouths are their best feature, if you see what I mean. Then Ushabti Bone for the teeth and any other bony teethy bits. If any viewers know what a Ushabti is, please leave the definition in the comments, as I have looked it up and I haven't got a Scooby either. Once that has all dried and you're happy, apply the Waaagh Earthshade to the whole mouth to bring out the details. You can use Carroburg Crimson if you really want to make your orc look particularly bloodthirsty, but that can be a bit hit and miss sometimes. Waaagh Earthshade sounds like a gardening product. I used to have orcs in my garden. Not anymore, because I use Waaagh Earthshade. Then, just apply the Screaming Skull once that has all dried nicely, and above all, sparingly for that overall lovable mental dental look. And as they say, the eyes have it. In this case, 2 tiny dots of Evil Sunz Scarlet. And I mean tiny. Orcs have eyes like cuts in a pig's bum, and that's the effect you're aiming for here. You can use a very fine detailed brush for this, or a cocktail stick in a very steady hand. Either or works. What a handsome chap. Evil Sun Scarlet is such a rich shade of red, and it was named after one of the orc clans that tend to wear a lot of red because they think in their warped orky minds that it's a good thing to paint your armour and vehicles with the blood of your victims. You can use the Ushabti Bone or Screaming Skull to paint any bones, skulls, bandages or jewellery that the orcs may be wearing. Lead Belcher, Warhammer Gold, any of the metallics in the Citadel paint palette can be used for things like earrings, nose rings, any other blingy stuff on their persons in fact. In the next few videos, well, as and when I get around to putting them online, we'll take a look at some of the orc clans, how they're painted, why they're painted the way they are. We'll take a look at their weapons, some info on their habits and behaviour, and how you can best use them in battle. We'll also be taking a look at their little evil cousins, the Gretchen, or Grots as they are known, which are a subspecies of orc, and these can be painted in much the same way. Well, that's me done for now. Please like, share and subscribe to Out to Lunch if you want to see more of the same. I'm on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and there are more details on the website which gets updated as and when I put these videos online. Until next time.